much better coming in on this side. Are you serious? Like, why are you stalking me?
Yes, Vipul, I guess you can say that I was stalking you, but it's for a really fun reason. On the chits written in the fishbowl, a couple of our behaviors, our cultural tenets written here. I would love for you to pick a chit from this at random and
Okay.
talk about the behavior that comes up.
Okay, that's pretty demanding. It's an interesting one. Ask why, not who. Failures are an inevitable part of life. We come across failures. We often hear this thing that, if you haven't failed, that means you haven't tried hard. And so the real question is, like, how do you create an atmosphere that enables failure to happen? Maybe it's best sort of explained through an example. So let's take a real situation, right? That here's a group of people who are, let's say, tasked with launching a product, and they come together. There's a lot of analysis, data, consumer insights, this product and tech, and you build everything with the hope that, hey, this goes really well, but failures are inevitable. And so this is a pretty real situation. And in those situations, like, there are rooms where we ask the question, okay, someone up in the food chain will ask, like, okay, who was it? Why did it go wrong? Who did it? I told you so. Bola tha tumhe. Don't do this. There'll be another kind of saying like, oh, this person, he should never have been on the team. But that's not the kind of conversation we have in our rooms. The conversation inevitably is about what did we learn? And why did it happen? And how can we do it better? And in the times that we have done this, we've actually found this to be quite helpful. Imagine that, right? The first place, it just totally shifts the onus on a collective. Right? People feel really empowered, and that's really important in today's organizations, young and old. Like, everyone wants to do something in their lives in the time that they spend in the offices or even outside, right? So the next time you're faced with this question of a failure, ask the question why, not who, and see how much positive energy that gets unleashed.
But can you share some tips or examples of how somebody can embody this in their day-to-day?
Right. I think, and there's two parts to this, right? When you say day-to-day, like, I really think that in the times that we live, we spend a lot of time at our workplace, but also outside, right? And building these kinds of skills, like, it's a bit of an artificial separation to do this only at work, but not outside. And so every time, we may think of some things, some outcomes, and they may not go to plan. And in the moment, you just have to ask yourself, like, it's less about the person. And you have to operate from the belief that people are well-intentioned, right? People come to work or outside, like, with positive intent, right? They want to do something. They want to make a positive difference. When you operate from that space, naturally the question that comes is why. The interesting thing about this is that it moves the conversation from wanting to justify what happened, about why certain choices were made, what were those choices, who made those choices, a sense of justification, to really a more positive orientation and saying, hey, okay, these were choices made, that's fine, but let's learn from this and look forward. And so I really genuinely think that it unleashes positive energy.
But in such cases, people are slightly afraid of failure.
Yeah.
In such cases, what do you recommend people managers, what should be the mindset and the culture that they should imbibe, inculcate in their teams?
Yeah, I think it's a function of sort of, the outcomes are while you can control for a lot of your actions, outcomes are still unbounded. And you should actually, the whole idea of failures involves in it experimentation. And so we are far away from that time when things are staid, predictable, when you know that A plus B is always equal to C. We don't want to be in that pace. Right? We are launching new businesses, we are scaling up new businesses, we want to try new things. Our core culture is entrepreneurship, right? And that always means that there's got to be a level of experimentation involved. And so it's okay to fail. And for people managers, I think it's a great question, right? Because they carry with them the culture that the company wants to embody, both internally as well as with third parties, with vendors, with channel partners, and so on and so forth. And the only question that should always consistently be asked is, okay, so what can we do differently, or what can we learn, right? That orientation of the why, not who, will always build the culture in the spaces that you're around. So that's my belief.
Perfect. I'll take 1 more minute of your time. If you
Sure.
were to leave our employees with maybe your last 2 to 3 top tips in terms of how they can embody this behavior in their day-to-day, what would it be?
Right. I think the first thing is bearing in mind that everyone has positive intent and they come to work with the idea of making a positive difference. When you operate from that space, therefore, number two, to remind yourself is that people are always aligned to wanting to do something and achieve their purpose. In our case, like we operate in agile squads, there's one defined mandate, you want to get going on a few things. Each one brings their perspective with the positive intent and what they know and understand. They all want to contribute. And the last thing to remember for yourself in life in general and at work is that across whatever you may do, actions you may take, things may not go to plan. And at that point in time, it matters less as to who made what choices. You just only have to learn and move ahead. Ask why, not who.
Perfect. This has been so great. Thank you for your time, and I'm sorry for stalking you once again.
No, that's okay. That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.